What's up, guys? Today I'll be reviewing one of my games that I played last year on December 12th, 2024. So let's get started in a couple of seconds. When and my opponent was playing white. So they opened up with e4, and don't ask me what I was doing in my opening for this game, but I responded with g4. Really, I was just trying to push these pawns forward to create a strong defense mechanism to attack that square and to help defend against that square a lot. Just don't ask me why I was just doing stuff like that. I do not know. Anyways, so we have d4, them trying to control the center, which is working, negating my development. And I play the move d4, releasing my bishop, so that this move is possible, and then this move is possible. Also, this move is also possible, so that but then that would just be a queen trade. So, you always have to be mindful of those. We have knight to c3 played by white, protecting that pawn and preparing to push that pawn forward. And I pushed my e-pawn forward one square, preparing to develop that pawn, to develop and attack that square. My opponent played f3, and in all my genius ideas, I played h6. Even though my whole idea was to play f5, I played f6. See how my opponent has both of their knights out while I have all of my pieces on the back rank? Yeah. Not really going well for me so far. We have d5 played, takes, and then we have queen to e7 check. And in order to block that check, he blocked with his queen. So I promptly captured, and he recaptured, not with his bishop, not with his knight, but with his king. Preventing him from castling later on in the game. And I haven't moved my king or either of my rooks yet, so castling is very possible for me still in the moment. But anyways, yeah, so we have a king move on the board already, and it's only the 8th move so far. So we have bishop to f7, just try to get my bishop out on the board and get my knight out so that I can castle. So knight to b5, threatening a forking my king and my rook. I actually saw that fork and I played a6. Very proud of that move, by the way. And my opponent played the very powerful move, d2. Don't really understand that move. Probably gonna try and move there or here. So I played the move f7, targeting this pawn and also therefore threatening the rook. He decided to prevent that attack with the move c3. I took, and he decided to double up his pawns by moving his pawn to capture. Instead of moving his knight back, he decided to capture with his pawn. just great. So we have a capture and 2 pawns doubled up on the C file. And now I decided to develop my knight so that I'll be able to castle, get my rook out, and possibly check him. And my opponent played the move rook d1, protecting this pawn, because as you can see it was a free pawn. And I decided to therefore castle. Pretty good position for me so far. Now all I have to do is get this bishop out, probably to this square, threatening the knight. And then I can get my rook out to do a check. Newsflash. Pawn to protect the knight. And I did not move my bishop out. In fact, I just decided to check him. Pawn, rook right there. And, well, he decided to move his king to d2. So I'm like, well, that's convenient. So I moved my knight to e4. And now he decided to move his king to e3. So I decided to... This isn't necessarily a fork, I want to say, because it's not really... I moved my knight to c3. It's not really... I'm not like forking his rook and king, but his king is under attack and his rook is under attack still. I don't know what this attack would be called. I think it's called a discovered attack. So we have a discovered attack on the king. The king has to move out of the way. The king moves to the d1 square, protecting the rook. I capture, and the king recaptures. I am up 2 points on material-wise, and things are looking quite bright for me. Except for the fact that these 2 pawns are deep in my territory, things are looking bright. So I move my c-pawn forward, so that if he were to take, I would take, and I would threaten his knight, and his knight would be forced to move backwards here, here, or here. But sadly, I did not see that piece, and now he's forking my rook and my bishop, so I just threatened his knight. He took my bishop, which, by the way, isn't really a good move, because, well, if I didn't see that, that would be a great move if I didn't see that, because taking my rook. But I did see that, and also, just plain taking my bishop. My bishop isn't really doing anything right now, so taking it right now is just, it just doesn't do anything. It just does not do anything. Nothing of value. So I retake with my A rook. By the way, retaking with my A rook, not retaking with my D rook, because this way his pawn can't take, because then my rook would take the king, and that's just not the rules of chess. He moves his bishop there. Now his pawn can take, and I decide to just take now, because better for me to take than for him to take. So then now he can take if he wants, but then I'll just take, and that would be 2 pawns for 1 pawn. So now we have knight to e5 played, and here, don't ask what I was thinking, but I played the very powerful move f6, hanging that pawn. And then I played king to f7, because this way he can't recheck me, and also his knight is in danger, and the only spot he can move is to h4. Or he cannot move at all because the bishop is protecting, so he moves king to c1. And now we have pawn takes. And by the way, he can't take because I would just take his bishop technically for free. So he moves his bishop to the f5 square, threatening my rook. So I just move it out of the way, threatening his bishop instead. By the way, he can't move his bishop here or here, because doing so would allow me to take his knight. So he has to move it here. Yeah, so pretty much he has to move it here. Or he can protect. Both are valid moves. Oh, I guess if he moved it there, I could have just pushed my pawn forward. And then he would have been in trouble. But none of that happened, so I pushed this pawn forward now, just trying to release an attack on the king's side, maybe figure out to push these pawns forward, and then get a queen and theoretically win the game. Rook played to d1 there by white, and I played takes, and then I just advanced my b pawn forward. Bishop to e4 played, and I don't understand that move. I don't understand what that does. I don't get the point of it. I think it wants to move here, threatening the knight. I'm really not sure. So I move knight to c7, and we have bishop to f7 check. Bishop to g4, and by the way, he can't recheck me there because then I take his bishop. So he makes the move f3. Now I start advancing my a pawn forward. We have king moves up, a pawn. And now we have the c pawn moves forward by white. And I shouldn't take, because then he would just take. Nor should I move up, because then he takes, then he can just sneak in and take me, or prevent me from promoting. So always gotta watch out for those. So I played rook to d5, and he stayed next to the pawn. I did b3 check, takes, another check. He moves to the back, not the back rank yet, sorry. And I move to a5, planning on moving to a2, my next move, moving him to the back rank. And we have bishop to e4, and check. C1 was played by white. Knight, just kind of bringing my knight over, threatening that pawn. Just kind of, yeah, bringing my knight in. He brings his bishop back to threaten my rook. Now, by the way, I shouldn't take the pawn, because even if he does end up taking, then even if I take, it's just not going to do me much good. Especially if he has 3 pawns on this side and I only have 2. And if he has a knight also on this side. So I played rook to f2. We have knight to f5 played, check. And I moved to f8, so now he can't check me. If he's on a white square and I'm on a brown square already outside of his range, he cannot get me. Or black square, it depends what type of board you're looking at, especially on chess.com. So anyways, we have knight to d4 played. And by the way, I shouldn't take, because then he'd take, and then he can slowly sneak this pawn forward using this bishop as support, and also he has these pawns that he can help. But then again, I can also just take these pawns, so at the same time, no, they won't be of much help. But I choose not to take and play knight to c3. He sacrifices his knight for the b3 pawn, and I take. And now it's checkmate in 1. There's nothing white can do about it. White moves to d3, and I promptly impale him and checkmate him with a b2 attack. That is checkmate. Yep. That was game. By the way, that game lasted a total of 1 hour and around 1 hour and 20 minutes. That game was very intense for me. I know it's not like a Grandmaster game, but it was intense. And I hope I never have to deal with that type of stress in my life ever again. Now, peace.